President Trump, the guest of honor at a lavish state dinner at China's Great Hall of the People in the heart of Beijing. The president toasted by Chinese President Xi Jinping and joined by family, staff, and more than a dozen of the United States' most prominent business leaders, including ally Elon Musk and the heads of Apple and Nvidia.
It's a very special relationship, and I want to thank you again.
The dinner capping off a day of carefully choreographed ceremony and closed-door meetings, beginning with the president's arrival in Tiananmen Square and his friendly greeting with President Xi, followed by the performance of both nations' national anthems and an artillery salute. The two leaders inspecting a military honor guard. President Trump visibly charmed by hundreds of Chinese school children there to greet him.
For the Chinese, all that pageantry aligns with the politics. Their goal to present an image of stability, control, and reliability to the world.
Reporters given only a glimpse of the summit itself, with President Xi setting the stakes, calling a stable relationship between the two nations, quote, good for the world, adding later that the U.S. and China should be partners, not rivals. President Trump playing up his personal relationship with Xi, showering the autocratic leader with praise.
Such respect for China. You're a great leader. Sometimes people don't like me saying it, but I say it anyway because it's true. I only say the truth.
In private, Xi warning Trump that the most important bilateral issue to China is Taiwan, adding that if it's mishandled, the two countries will have clashes or even conflicts, according to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, in an exclusive interview with NBC's Tom Yamas, asked about it.
We always respond by saying anything that would compel or force a change in what we have now would be problematic. And we would certainly, our policies on that have not changed.
The two leaders also discussing trade and the wars in Ukraine and Iran, where the White House hopes China can use its leverage as Iran's biggest oil buyer to help bring the conflict to a close.
Did President Trump raise the issue of Iran with China?
He did, and it was important because the Chinese side said they are not in favor of militarizing the Straits of Hormuz, and they're not in favor of a tolling system. And that's our position.
Garrett, you mentioned several of the CEOs who are traveling with President Trump there in China. Any word on progress regarding trade deals?
Well, Craig, President Trump posted on his way here that opening up China's market for American companies would be his #1 ask of President Xi. So far, we've heard generally positive language, but no real specifics. President Xi told Trump that China would only open its doors wider to U.S. businesses going forward. And in an interview this morning, the Treasury Secretary said that President Trump pitched the Chinese on also buying more oil and gas from the U.S. The Treasury Secretary predicting we would see large orders of Boeing aircraft coming soon, but there have been no announcements yet, Craig.
Garrett Haake traveling with the president there in China. Garrett, thank you. We also want to mention that Tom Yamas will have the very latest on the summit and more of his interview with Secretary of State Rubio tonight on NBC Nightly News live from Beijing.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch the Today Show every morning on NBC or take Today when you're on the go. Just follow the Today podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.